Hi, and welcome back. It's been a bit since we did one of these, but I am joined by a fellow animator, indie animator, uh, one actually also based in Illinois, Chicago, of Michael Cook. And today we are talking about Chucky Chicken, Films of a Feather. How you doing, Cook?
Hey, doing good. Great works. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm good. Just got off work not too long ago. Took a nice
Nice.
shower finally.
There you go.
Yeah. Saw saw a movie. How have you been doing?
Doing pretty good. It's late spring, early summer in Chicago.
Hmm.
It's the perfect
Yeah.
time of year, so can't complain. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, and all is well. And it's my birthday
Yeah.
on Sunday,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
so
Well, happy birthday.
thank you very, very
Hmm.
much. But yeah, doing really well.
Do you have any fun things planned for your birthday or?
And no, not really anything super duper fun planned. I do know that on the Chucky Discord server, we're having a little event where we're showing off the one of the first cuts of our animatic for our upcoming pilot episode, and
Ooh.
which will be fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah. I mean, since you've mentioned it, why don't we just dive into it? Because today
Okay.
we are talking about Chucky Chicken, Films of a Feather.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
no clucks about it. The show that ain't for the birds.
This show ain't for the birds. That's for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I'm
Thank
guessing there's
you.
gonna be a bunch of like uh kind of that old Hollywood lingo, but like actually focused around like animals back at the time. Like
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit it right on the head. The show itself takes place in the 1930s, and specifically the year 1932.
mhm,
And it focuses on Chucky Chicken himself, who is this aspiring filmmaker. All his life, he's grown up watching and loving the work of his hero, Tommy Turkey, who
mhm,
was the biggest star in the silent movie era. And he finally gets the guts to go and apply for his dream job as a director at the studio, and he gets hired on as the janitor.
nice.
So, yeah, so right off the bat, we get to see in this pilot episode how Chucky works his way up through the ranks from janitor to director, quite literally
Mm,
by surprise. And what's really special about it is it's very much inspired by those classic cartoons like Looney Tunes and
mhm,
old school Mickey Mouse. And uh, one of the main aspects of the show is that the main baddie of the series, Freddie Fox, who is one of the executive producers at the studio, doesn't like Chucky and doesn't like change and sees it as
mhm,
a threat. So he's going to do everything in his power to try and get rid of Chucky, but of course fail,
mhm.
as good villains do. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're really, really excited about it. We're already we're pretty heavy into production now,
Ooh.
which is very exciting. But yeah, it's been a wonderful, wild journey, and this is the fourth iteration of Chucky Chicken in general. But if you want to learn more about that, we could talk about that later. But yeah,
Mm. Oh yeah,
so
yeah. Yeah, I love of the whole look of this thing. And now you said this was like kind of the fourth iteration of Chucky Chicken. Did he go through like a bunch of versions or
oh
like
yeah.
yeah? Was it always? Did you always like envision it of being set in the 30s, or was it like oh we'll do the 70s or like now? But like you just after a few trials you're like oh let's do the 30s.
Well, I when I created Chucky back in 2008.
Ooh.
Yes, it was a long time ago. I was in college at the time. I was inspired by the legendary animator Alby Works. And
Mhm.
real quick story for those of you who don't know who Alby Works is. First of all, if you're an animator, shame on you. Second of all, he was Walt Disney's partner in the 20s, and he was the guy who co created both Oswald the Lucky Rabbit and
Mhm.
Mickey Mouse with Walt Disney. And at the time when I got started in college, Disney was kind of going away from its 2D animation
Mhm.
department. Actually, shuttered it completely by that point.
Yeah, the
But
last movie was like Princess and the Frog that was 2D. Was that
Well, yeah,
2008?
that was in 2009. Yeah, so it
Oh
was
yeah.
right. It was pretty close to the edge
Hmm.
of the
Hmm.
2D department, but
Yeah.
um, one of the saving graces that they did that year was they released a copy of all of the Oswald the Lucky Rabbit shorts that
Mhm.
they were able to find. Because the year prior, in 2006, just a super brief history lesson, when Walt Disney created Oswald for Universal back in 1927, he
Yeah.
didn't own the rights. Those were held by a guy by the name of Charles Mintz. And in 1928, when Walt went to go talk to Mintz about renegotiating his contract, Mintz kind of did him dirty and took not only 20, he wanted 20% more of the money, but he also basically hired all of Walt's animators to go and
Hmm.
work with him at his new studio, with the only exception being Ub Iwerks. He was the one
Hmm.
who did not sign, which thank God for that.
Yeah.
But because of that, the other part of it was that Walt didn't own Oswald. Universal and Mintz did. So he left and ended up going and making a little character, Mortimer Mouse or something like that. I
Hmm.
don't know.
Yeah.
Some mouse, right? Not kidding. But anyway, 80 years later, in 2006, Bob Iger, who was the CEO and currently is the CEO of Disney, along with Roy Disney, his
Hmm.
nephew, Walt's nephew,
Yeah.
they were in negotiations with NBC Universal about Al Michaels. Al Michaels wanted to get out of his contract with ABC and go over to hang out with his buddy, the late John Madden, over at NBC. And they were having some really tough negotiations. And then finally, there was an opening, and Iker just said, "All right, you want Al Michaels? Fine, we'll give him to you, but you got to give us Oswald the Lucky Rabbit." And none of the executives knew who the hell Oswald was. Like, what are you talking about? And so he explained the whole situation, and they said, "So you're telling me that all we need to do is give you this cartoon rabbit, and you'll let Michaels over at Universal?" And that's exactly what they did. And ever since 2006, Oswald has been back home at Disney, and they went on this worldwide search for all of the old Oswald
Mhm.
shorts. And at the time, they found half of them, put them all as a part of the Walt Disney Treasures collection. And I had gotten that for Christmas in 2006. So while I was watching those cartoons, I fell in love with them. I just, I
Mhm.
studied every drawing and studied, the backgrounds and the way that the characters moved.
Oh,
And
the movement in those old cartoons are crazy.
oh, yeah. And the fact that they had to tell stories without any sound,
Hmm. Hmm.
just and the way that and you got to remember, those particular cartoons were a grade above what was the normal animated cartoon at the time,
Hmm.
because prior to what Ub and Walt did with even Oswald, they used a process of basically cutting out characters and moving them along on pegs. And
Hmm.
what Ub was able to do was he was able to get off of those cutouts and those very stiff movements, and he was able to actually put life and fluidity into his anime. He was a technical wizard. He knew how to do some of the most darndest things with art and with
Hmm.
film. I mean, it was fantastic. So I was studying those at the time when I was at the Illinois Institute of Art in Schaumburg, RIP,
Hmm.
and and I was part of a group on campus that was an animation group, and I was sitting there with my buddy Jake Bullock, and who is in Des Plaines, and we were just chatting, and he was working on a project that involved 3D chickens, and he had this catapult with these chickens that would fling them across the road to this place called Chicken Heaven. It was one of the funniest things that I had ever seen. And I was drawing Oswald on the dry erase board, and he goes, "Why don't you come up with your own characters?" Like, well, what should I do? I don't know. You'll think of something. So I looked at the computer screen and I saw his chicken, and I looked at Oswald, And it didn't take rocket science. I put the two of them together almost as a joke, just
Mhm.
to spite him. What do you think of this? And he loved it. And what are you going to call him? I'm like, I don't know. I'm thinking Chucky Chicken. How's that sound? I love it. It's like, are you okay with me using this character? He goes, go for it, man. I don't care. And that's how Chucky was born. And so I wanted to so it really came out of my love for traditional hand
Mhm.
drawn animation and my newfound love and respect for Works. I mean, I was one of those kids that was fortunate enough to know about Oswald
Oh yeah, yeah.
years and years ago. Like I had the Walt Disney's Art of Animation book, the one that all all the success, the
The
most
Bible book for
well
animation.
pretty much, besides the animator survival kit, I mean, that was like the guide to animation. And
Mhm.
so I knew about Oswald pretty much my whole life. And I've never seen any Oswald cartoons until that DVD collection. So
Mhm.
it was really cool to finally see him in motion. And then I was like, you know what? Those cartoons were so special. I should do something with them. And eventually, we populated this world with characters like Louis Loon and Tommy Turkey and,
Mhm.
Freddie Fox and, a whole slew of other characters. And
Mhm.
over the years, it evolved. We added voices to the characters and we added color and, built a world around them. And, but the concept that we have for the show really didn't take off until about late 2021, 2022. So he's been around for a long time and we've done, about 10, 11 shorts with the characters. But this is the first time that we're actually going and doing a structured, lore based
Mhm.
story with these characters. So it's really exciting.
Oh yeah, of course. I love that. Whenever there's like a big origin for that in, uh, like behind this like a TV show or movies or like just inspiration behind it,
Yeah.
because like I feel like you could see that with like a lot of really great careers as well. Like I remember like Steven Spielberg, like his dream growing up was to direct a James Bond movie, but
Right.
like at the time you had to be British to direct a James Bond movie, and
Really?
so yeah, yeah, until very recently, all things considered.
I did not
Uh,
know that.
and it was actually George Lucas who pitched like, well, if we kind of do the archetype of like a James Bond kind of character, but give him a different job, but
Right.
like still keep the pulpy aspects.
Right.
Yeah, which yeah, it's always yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Hmm.
Whenever you can see that, you can definitely see. I think with some stuff like this, like how you mentioned, kind of your love with Oswald Rabbit, you can definitely see just the love kind of bleed through, like even just
Hmm.
with the designs as well.
Right. Oh yeah, I mean, I really wanted it to be, just I wanted it to be Disney, but like original. If
Mhm,
that makes
mhm.
sense, because
Of course.
it's almost like if the Warner Brothers studio and the Disney studio teamed together to
Mhm.
do a project. This is what, well, I mean, Aladdin,
Oh
but
yeah,
also what kind of what this
the vibe.
would be too. So, but
Mhm.
because Robin Williams always said that Aladdin was like a Warner Brothers cartoon in Disney drag,
Yeah.
so which he was not wrong. He was 100% on the button,
Mhm,
and that is exactly what we're trying to do with our show too. So it's really exciting.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, I love. Yeah, would you say it's like gonna be kind of like Disney stuff? Would you say it's gonna be like uh do you want it to be kind of like a prestige, like parody of Disney, or do you want it to be like replicate that vibe of like 30s Disney cartoons while still being more so its own thing? Or
Definitely the latter.
okay.
We don't want to we're not a parody of Disney, right?
Mm, mhm,
We study from the best, and we do our best to kind of replicate that style, but keep it more for a modern day family audience.
yeah.
Our goal is to um, we don't want to make fun of Disney or
Mm.
anybody else. We want to pay homage and, um, you know, make something that could fit nicely on the shelf with
Oh.
the great cartoons. So
Mhm,
that's kind of our goal.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, it's very cool. I remember, yeah, growing up, uh, the kind of thing. way I was introduced to like a lot of Disney classics was actually I used to watch The House of Mouse a lot,
Oh
and
yeah,
I love that show of like, oh,
great
there's
show.
yeah, Disney characters in a modern setting, and they show movies to other Disney characters, but they show
Hmm.
like the older classic stuff. And like that's a great way to also introduce younger people
Oh
to
yeah,
like yeah, and
and
like different
honestly,
styles. Oh, yeah.
yeah. Oh no, and honestly, like I'll say this: the House of Mouse was probably the best stuff that they wrote for Mickey and his
Mm,
pals
mhm.
during that time period. Right? I mean, obviously, we have the more modern day Ren and Stimpy ish Mickey Mouse cartoons, which the writing is cute and
Mhm.
funny, but the I'm not a big Ren and Stimpy fan. I will
Mhm.
say that. But what they did with House of Mouse in terms of like giving Mickey a personality and making him all of his friends like it just was perfect as far as
Mhm.
I'm concerned. Just some really great animation, great writing, great performances from Wayne Allwine and Russi Taylor, who were
Oh
the
yeah.
you know, and they were married in real life. Mickey and Minnie were married, which
Mhm.
is just, crazy to think about. Both of them passed on, and
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
and so yeah, that was another inspiration for us too. Like not just the '30s, but in recent years we've kind of taken a liking to '90s cartoons like
Mhm.
Animaniacs and Tiny Toons and
Mm.
Pinky and the Brain and House of Mouse
I
and
can definitely see the animatics influence with some of the ears, especially, and some of the facial expression, like in
yeah.
the best way possible.
Oh, sure. Yeah. 100%. Well, it helps that when you have somebody, one of our consultants on the project is the creator of the show, Tom Ruger. So he's been a big help with us, kind of guiding us into, you know, do's and don'ts and
Mhm.
tropes to avoid and, what would work on the screen, what would be really good. And
Of course.
so he's been a very big fan of ours, and we're a fan of his, and
Mhm.
so he's been a big help. So we love working with him.
Yeah, yeah. Would you say like the other than kind of the House of Mouse stuff, is there other like kind of modern iterations of like putting like the iconic Mickey Mouse and his gang characters in different scenarios or like genres that you specifically like, or is
From
it
from nowadays,
yeah from nowadays?
the only other thing that I can think of that caught my attention was Epic Mickey. That
Oh yeah, because that had
yeah,
Oswald as well. Yeah,
right.
I think that's how a lot of people got introduced to him actually.
That yeah, that was by design. As a matter of fact, the whole reason why they got Oswald back was to do Epic Mickey, which
Hmm.
was insane.
Hmm.
But yeah, Epic Mickey, and again, um, that whole world of just forgotten Disney
Yeah.
creativity, and like you said, reintroducing folks to characters like Oswald and Hortensia or the
Mhm.
Gremlins and Big Bad Pete. And even Horace Horse Collar and Clarabelle Cow, who people have honestly kind of forgotten about in recent years, which
Mm.
kind of sad, really.
Yeah.
I have two 5-year-old nieces, and they love Mickey and the Roadster Racers. And the Horace Horse Collar that's in that show is not the Horace Horse Collar that I grew up with. But it's still a fun show. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna trash talk it or anything. It
Mhm.
does the job. It introduces the characters to a younger audience, I think if anything, Epic Mickey is probably the closest that I would say
Mhm.
to. And don't get me wrong, the Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse series that they did on Disney Plus and what they did on the Disney Channel.
Mhm.
If they had just taken out like the Ren and Stimpy aspect of it, it would have been perfect. But
Mm.
I get it. I understand why they did it. I can't. It made me laugh quite a bit. I mean, there were some cartoons that I'm on the floor rolling. Like, don't get me wrong. They did my boy Goofy dirty. I'll tell
Yeah.
you that. But other than that, it's a really fun anime. The music is phenomenal in those cartoons.
Mhm.
The writing is very witty. It's very snappy, and it made Mickey Mouse funny. for the
Oh yeah,
first time in a very, very long time.
by making him borderline creepy.
Who knew that that's what you had to do? In order to make them funny, you gotta make them creepy.
Yeah.
Who knew? But oh, well, maybe Walt did. We'll never know.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah, the what Walt was kind of a bit infamously based off of. He was based off Moniker Mouse, his design and like look a bit. They even copied some of his mannerism for the character.
Monica, I've never heard of Monica
Uh,
Mouse.
Hold on. Is it
Oh,
Moniker?
from Van Buren. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. He was
Morton
like
Mouse. That's
Mort Mouse. It was
Morton
close.
Mouse.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
Mickey's
yeah, yeah.
rival.
You know, there's the jury's still out about that.
Okay.
You got to remember it probably Walt Disney was very much inspired by Van Buren and I
Mhm.
think Paul Terry, if I'm not mistaken. I
Mhm.
think you know the Terry tunes. Um, there was and of course, you know the works of Max Fleischer and all of those
Right.
older,
Of course. Like
you know,
classic Americana.
exactly. So you know, I never knew Walt Disney personally. I can't
Mm.
really, you know, I wasn't there in the room when he made the
No.
character, but you know, if I was, I'd be like, oh yeah, he totally stole it from Morton. But I don't know. So, but we have Mickey, so that's you know,
Yeah.
thank God for Mickey Mouse as far as I'm concerned.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
and thank God for Chucky Chicken. So let's get back on him, shall we?
Yeah. 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 Now, would you mind if I moved on a bit more to kind of discuss the setting of the area, like the
Sure.
people around him already?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the history of Tough Cluck Studios.
Yeah. So that's part of the deeper lore of the show. Tommy Turkey started the studio years and years ago with his sister and his former business partner. And the studio was successful from 1920 all the way through 1928, when his sister unfortunately caught or was diagnosed with a very rare disease and sadly passed away. And because of that, you know, losing a sibling is a horrible, you know, horrible thing to happen to you. And poor Tommy kind of fell into a depression.
Mhm.
Not only that, but you know, 1929, the stock market crashed. So
All right.
his business partner was kind of iffy about you know, the success of the history of the studio, or the future of the studio, excuse me, and staged a coup and tried to take it over. But thankfully, Chelsea Chicken, his you know Tommy's niece, and you know his sister's kid, stepped up to the plate and was like, "No, you're not taking over the studio. You know, we're going to keep it in the family. We're going to keep it running, and you're out." And
Yeah.
right before he left, there was a clause in his contract that said that his business partner could choose his successor, and in his place, he put Freddie Fox.
Mm.
And there's some really so I'll just I it's kind of a spoiler kind of thing, but not really because it
Mm.
came out the first episode. But Bruno Branco is his business partner, and he's also the head of the organized crime and the underground criminal element of their town, Featherton.
Mhm.
So he's the head of the Stapoli of Napoli Mafia, and Freddie Fox is one of his soldiers in the mafia, as well as his, you know, three weasels that he has: Wessel, Stanford, and Mikey.
Mhm.
And so those four, they always go out and try and. So basically, their goal is to try and take out the studio for Bruno Branco, because
Mhm.
if he can't, you know, you know, he technically runs it, but he, you know, he's just like, I'm done with this. It's not making money. Get rid of it. And Chucky comes in and starts making money and starts making a profit, but there's still that bitter resentment between Bruno and Tommy.
Mhm.
So he's just trying to take it out, and Freddie just like, okay, whatever you say, you know. But so so yeah, it's pretty deep. You know, you
Yeah.
just gotta watch it and have some
Yeah.
fun. It's really going to be an interesting. It's very cool to see Chucky, you know, discover the history of the studio and learn about all this really, you know, kind of messed up stuff
Yeah.
that happened before he got there.
I was gonna say, I
So,
feel like you can replace some of the animal names with like regular people names, and this would fit like perfectly in just one of those real life documentaries of like the history behind a certain studio.
That's it's kind of a goal 2.0 for this project too, right? Um, Tommy Turkey and Tough Cluck Studios, we decided to inspire heavily off of Harry Cohen
Mm.
and Columbia Pictures. And because Harry Cohen was like the worst mogul out of all of them in the golden age of Hollywood. So he just was, the cigar
Oh.
chomping,
Oh no, yeah.
loud mouthed, horrible,
Yeah.
did everybody wrong. Danny Kaye was
Mhm.
famous for saying, the day he died, um, you know, he had probably the biggest funeral attendance out of anybody in Hollywood. And when asked, Danny Kaye basically said, "Well, why not?" He gave him exactly what people wanted.
Yeah.
So, so we've roughly based Tommy Turkey off of, Cohen. He's voiced amazingly by Mike Pollock, who is Dr. Eggman in the Sonic series and has done stuff for 4Kids, and he was
Yeah.
the narrator on Pokemon for a long time. And
He has he has a great kind of like reminiscent of like those kind of big bully characters from the 30s. Like Pete is
oh yeah,
definitely the one who's
yeah,
kind of like
yeah,
I'm thinking of right now.
exactly. Yeah, he definitely. Yes, he's definitely our. If Peg Leg Pete was actually smart, that's kind of
Oh
how I
yeah.
think of Tommy Turkey. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
it's really interesting to see. You know, the other part of that I'm really excited about is like we get to introduce characters onto our show. That are very reminiscent of the period. Like, for example, we have characters like Margarita McCaw, who um, are she is this amazing dancer and singer and actress from Brazil,
Hmm.
signed on to the studio, came on, and was stuck doing what we call the chicky chicky boom pictures.
Yeah.
And she's based off of Carmen Miranda, who is
Hmm.
a sensation during the 30s and 40s. So we thrown a little history in there. We try and make it a more romanticized, idealized
Hmm.
version of the 30s while still keeping true to what was going on during the time. And, a couple cameos here and there, which I think are going to be really fun. And
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that you don't kind of steer away from like kind of the uh, Hollywood aspect at the time, which
Right.
it hasn't gotten like super amazing, but it has like it's not nowhere near as bad as it was back in the
Right.
day.
Well, here's the thing, too, right? Like, we're not afraid to tell it how it is.
Hmm.
We want people to, you know, I am so, I'm not a fan of kid shows
Hmm.
that talk down to, to,
Of
to,
course.
to kids. I think kids are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. And, they can take a lot. I think, one of the coolest things about the cartoons that we grew up with, like, the Looney Tunes, for example, and even a lot of the Disney stuff from the 30s all the way through the 50s, and even into the 80s and 90s, they didn't write them just for kids. They wrote them for the adults in the audience too. You have to have that. You need to be able to have that balance of both. Am I coming in, by the way?
You're a little stacky, but you're still coming in.
Okay. Sorry about that. I don't know what the heck happened, but um, you need to have that balance of um, both adult humor and stuff for kids, um, because if you don't, and if it's going to be mind numbing for everybody.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yeah, I remember kind of like that was Mr. Oh, sorry, you're a little stacky at that time.
yeah, no, you are too. Hang on, I'm gonna see if I can move somewhere and hopefully get a better signal here. So bear with me.
No, you're good. Yeah, just tactical issues, folks. Like if I'm sure it's a Chucky chicken sign for like we're working on it, kids. Or uh, uh,
Oh, hang on, I may have to. my phone is kind of overheating a little bit here too, so bear with me here. I do apologize.
No, yeah, you're good.
Okay. Um, yeah, so I may have to. Oh boy, the joys of technology. Am I coming in better now? Is this good or?
Uh, travel. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're still a bit.
Oh, rats. Okay. All right, hang on. We'll figure it out.
No, yeah, yeah, totally.
So, in the meanwhile, I don't know if you want to like take a quick break or if you want to plug something for like
No,
whatever. But
well, since we're here, I'll just for our background thing, I will just
there we
put
go.
on. Oh,
That works.
excellent. Yeah, you're back.
Oh, perfect. Okay, good. Good, good, good. But yeah, like I was saying, we try and cater to the family audience, not kids, not
Mhm.
adults, but that, unspoiled spot that's inside everybody.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I think by doing that, you also, it'll be, more timeless that way.
Mhm.
We picked the 30s because that really is sort of that's an era. While it is very much in the rearview mirror, it's still there's still a lot of aspects of that time period that people remember and kind of
Mhm.
still utilize today. We still reference quite a bit of it, and I think it's important to remember, and I think it's important to talk
Of
about.
course. Yeah, yeah. I remember there was a quote I've always kind of loved from it's been attributed to Don Bluth. I think it's paraphrased a lot of like you can show a kid anything as long as you can give them a happy ending. Because
Right. Yeah, exactly. Um, well, Don Bluth, he went above and beyond. I'm sorry.
oh
I
yeah,
mean,
no,
I,
yeah,
I grew up watching those like everybody else, but oh boy, if you weren't,
yeah.
I mean, that was 80s PG, as the
Mhm.
Nostalgia Critic likes to say.
There was
Um,
a there. I remember one of the behind the scenes was actually of Land Before Time, and Steven Spielberg, who was a producer on that and had already done stuff like Jaws, had
yeah.
to like he had to kind of like strong arm Don to basically cut a scene because he's like, "This is too dark, Don."
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He was. Well, Don is interesting because he came from Disney
Uh-huh.
and left the studio to do his own thing
Hmm.
because Disney wasn't doing what they had done for so long.
Oh no, yeah, totally.
So but he just amped everything up to 11, and we're just
Hmm.
like, Don, stop scaring people. What are
Yeah,
you doing?
yeah, yeah. There's some great books by Don Bluth and like
Yeah.
even his animation company in general about kind of the history of the Bluth Studios and
Yeah.
stuff like that, which is a great read if you're ever interested into.
Yeah. And he's teaching animation classes now
Hmm.
too,
Yeah,
which
got
which
college
is
and
really,
everything, and
yeah, exactly.
he's still working at his theater, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So, but anyway, moving right along. Sorry
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that, folks.
No,
Didn't
no,
mean
it's
to.
totally fine.
Yeah.
We'll get if you had it on standby, it would be perfect. If we could just show like Chucky the chicken holding like technical difficulties, folks. We'll be
I have to make one of those. I can't believe I don't have a technical
yeah,
difficulties one yet for him.
yeah. Anyway,
But
yeah,
one day
yeah,
I'll get
yeah,
it to you. Yeah, we'll make one. That's no problem.
yeah. Now we're on the cast of characters with
Oh yeah,
our main kind of our main man Chucky Chicken.
that's me. That's him. Yep. So yeah, Chucky. Like I said, he's very happy-go-lucky. Just trying to do the best job that he can. He gets himself into trouble every once in a while, inadvertently. He doesn't go looking for trouble. It just kind of happens to you know find him. He's never, he notices when things are wrong and he does everything he can to fix it.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, Even if it backfires on him, he will always make it right, which I love about him. But being a rooster, he sometimes has his fits, and, being chicken, sometimes, it comes out every once in a while, but when it really counts, Chucky definitely he'll stick his neck out for anybody. He will help out whoever he can, and at the end of the day, all he wants to do is make a good cartoon, save the studio, and maybe impress Chelsea every once in a while.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of Chelsea. She is the second in command at the studio, right under Tommy Turkey. She's his niece, and you may have noticed that she has a prosthetic. That's because, unfortunately, something happened to her, and I'm not going to spoil everything about it. You're just
Ooh.
going to have to watch the show and find out for yourself. But she is very much. What I love about her is that she's very no nonsense. She's very much, we need to get this done and get it done now. We need to, but she's always trying to help keep the studio and her mother's legacy alive. And
Mhm.
sometimes it can be to her detriment, And our only hope is that we'll be able to see Chelsea let her hair down every once in a while, and
Nice.
hopefully Chucky can help her with that. You're going to see a really, really real and cute relationship between the two of them, which I think is going to be really powerful. And we got some really cool things planned.
Yeah.
Freddie Fox, already talked about him. He's a schmuck. Tommy Turkey, already talked about him.
Yeah. Louis
uh,
Loon.
moving on. Louis Loon, Chucky's best friend. He is also a an actor as well as a janitor, set painter. He does a lot of jobs at the studio, but the one thing that he will do more than anything is just he loves to have fun.
Mhm.
He is very laid back, very much the bro of the group. He's up for anything. He's Australian, which is awesome too. So he's
Oh.
very, you know, very unfiltered, which we love about him. He's Chucky's best friend, and he makes sure that everyone knows it. He is quite the goofball, which everyone loves and adores about him. And you know, he he's a lot of the reason why Chucky finds himself in so much trouble.
Mhm.
So Louis is very much a troublemaker in the ways of just him doing his thing and kind of leaving destruction in his wake. I mean, that's just kind of Louis Loon in a nutshell. Anna Lamb, she is the studio seamstress. Very sweet, very kind. So sweet to give you a cavity. Johnny Jackrabbit, he's the hot-headed hare who's also um, the studio everyman. So he'll set up the camera, he'll set up the sets, the lights and
Mhm.
everything. Uh, Abraham Hogsley, he is the studio caterer.
Of
Um,
course.
of course, he's kind of we're I kind of like to think of him as sort of the Newman of our
Mm,
group.
I love
He's
that.
very excitable. Hello, Chucky. Uh, but yeah, so uh, Chucky surrounds himself with a good good bunch of people.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
moving right along, we have Sylvia Silky. That's Tommy's wife. Very, very hoity-toity, but also very much, Tommy's match, which I think is perfect for
I
him.
love that.
Tino Turkey, that's his son. We'll learn a little bit more about him as the series goes on. Davy Dog, he is the sound dog, so he's responsible for the microphones and all of the making sure that everything sounds good. And not a part of the studio, but still important, is the mayor, Down E Feather.
Mhm.
Um, so one of the oldest families in Featherton, and very much that stereotypical, how do you do kind of
Mhm.
character. Yes, I'm the mayor. You must elect me, please. So an excuse to have an old timey transatlantic kind
Yeah.
of character. 1, 2. So
Yeah, I mean, this is their era to have that kind of voice.
Margarita McCall, we talked about her a little bit. Again, dancer, actress, kind of a bit of a diva, but
Mhm.
she's still, she does her best. And then we get to three of the main villains. We got Bruno Bronco, who we talked about a little bit. Luca Bacon, who is
Mhm.
Bronco's right hand man, the heavy. He's definitely the muscle of
Mhm.
the group. And then we got the three weasels. We got Stanford Stout in the middle, To his right, our left, is Mikey Mink.
Mhm.
And then the goofy looking guy on the right is Wessel Weasel. And they are Freddy's henchmen. And he goes and he sends them out to go do his dirty work. And of course, like good evil henchmen, they botch it up.
Yeah.
So,
I love a good set of goons like this.
oh, 100%. So they are a special bunch. And then, of course, moving right along, we still have many other characters
Mhm.
that we will be introduced to and talk about later on as they appear in
Mm.
the show.
Yeah, yeah. I really like that you can see kind of like the archetypes of a lot of them, but they still like you could kind of tell so like they kind of fit the roles of like kind of a classic cartoon war like arm hose
Rubber
characters,
hose,
but
yeah.
yeah, rubber hose characters while still being their own thing. Why did I say arm hose? Because their arms are hose.
I got what you meant. I didn't
Yeah.
want to correct you, but
But yeah, yes, still
we're
very
all
much.
tired.
Yeah,
It's 4 o'clock on a Friday. I
yeah,
want to go
yeah,
home.
yeah. All still very much look like their own thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now,
Um, uh,
if I'm not mistaken, you also have a podcast of your own.
we do every so we used to be on Thursdays. We moved it to Wednesdays, but basically it used to be Thursday evenings at 6:30 p.m. But now we're Wednesday evenings at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's the Cluck and Crew. It's me and two of my cohorts, my co-producer, co-director, head of storyboarding and compositing, Elias Levine, and of course our art director, character designer, and official lore keeper, Tino Cockatera.
That's so
Um,
important, lore keeper.
Self-designated, but well-deserved. I,
Hmm.
I do need to say that Tino knows more about the 1930s than I could have possibly imagined, and
Hmm.
he is just a master at finding all of the resources and finding all the references and material. And he gigs me about what would be proper for the scene, and he's really really good. He knows his stuff, and if you look at his stuff on Twitter, for example, under the hashtag Toon Tunes for Tino and Punchline Arts for Elias, go follow them. They need all they deserve all the love and attention in the world. Um, Tino has like mastered that 1930s style, and when we brought him on, he like leveled up the look of the characters. So, and Elias, of course, is very great with costumes and with storyboarding and storytelling, and he an animal anatomy. I will say this. No, I'll say this. I got to give Elias a lot of credit because if it weren't for him, all of the characters may have gotten the Mickey Mouse treatment where they
Hmm.
look like, they all look the same, right? Where
Hmm.
Elias pushes the designs and finds certain aspects about the actual animal to then
Hmm.
include into the design. So he has been really good about, helping us. We have a process with all of our guests and all of our, fans or people that we fan over. We call it chuckifying. So if you get chuckified, we give you your own Chuck Sona, and
Nice.
you become your own character, and then you can be featured in the show, which is really cool. So we
Yeah.
got to get your Chuck Sona, Mike. So let me know what your favorite barnyard animal or animal that isn't mythical is, and we'll get you going with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cluck and Crew, we have a lot of fun. We do live streams. Um, we have special guests. Like last night, we had the folks over from Tall Tale Studios. We had Minthy and her partner Captain Cookie on the show, and that was a lot of fun. We've had some pretty big guys like James Lopez has been on the show. We've had Brian Finley on the show.
Mhm.
We have the cast, the crew, and it's all a good time. We have like Gartic storyboard, which is like Gartic phone, but instead of just one drawing, we actually go frame by frame, artist by artist, and tell a cohesive story, which has been a really fun thing that we've done. And we just we talk about animation news. It's really a lot of fun. We have a ball.
Mm.
and it's not a podcast until one of them break me and just have me laughing into hysterics. So, which happens pretty much every single.
Yeah, I love that.
Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, there we are. So, but yeah, so that's our podcast.
Mhm.
So we're
Yeah,
we're coming up on episode 50 here pretty soon.
nice.
So we're pretty excited about that. So go subscribe to our channel, please. Let people know that we're here.
Yeah,
We
don't
love
worry.
you.
Yeah, I post everyone's links when we're done. So
Oh, thank you. Okay, when we're done.
yeah, yeah.
So
N-
let's wrap
now,
this up. Then I'm kidding.
yeah. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you have a pretty big cast with like some pretty well known names. Would you mind if we talk about them a bit or just show?
Sure.
Yeah.
I love talking about the folks that are helping bring in our characters to life. We have this no name by the name of Michael Cook as the voice of Chucky Chicken. No one's ever heard of him. You know, I don't. He just showed up. I don't know. Uh, Grishma Shah, who's another local Chicago gal, very big in the film aspect of Chicago. She's the voice of Chelsea and does a fantastic job. Mike Pollock, we talked about as Tommy Turkey. Ted Hazard, the creator of Hazard Tunes and Devil to Pay, an amazing folk rock singer.
Mhm.
He is the voice of Freddie Fox and does the a phenomenal job. I can't think of anyone else as Freddy. Alex Hanley is the voice of Louis Loon, a good old Irishman, and we love him to death. He just adds just that suave and charm to Louis that we all love. Chloe DeChozo is the voice of Anna Lamb,
Mhm.
and she does just add in the sweetness, and she just does a spectacular job. Juan Ortiz, or some call him Johnny, is the voice of Abe Hogsley. He does a terrific job with him. Um, this is a little outdated. Will Engel is now Willow
Mhm.
Engel.
Oh,
She's currently the voice of Johnny Jackrabbit.
all right.
Um, Jenna Birmingham is the voice of Vero Vixen, adding
Mhm.
some sultriness to our show. Uncle Al is the voice of Gorilla Gus. We love having him on the show. He's an amazing YouTuber. Go check him out. Steph Matarazzo is the voice of Margarita McCaw, just adding a lot of authenticity and charm to the character. Jacob M. Keane is the voice of Bruno Bronco, doing an incredible Tony J impersonation. I must
Oh.
say, like he just nails it. Miranda Guzman is the voice of Sylvia Silky, adding just again oozing charm to these characters. And then we have Malcolm Ray, who you've heard as Nico on
From Lackadays.
Lackadaisy.
Yeah.
Yep, he's the voice of Tino Turkey, which is really cool.
Yeah, and a
Um,
channel awesome regular.
Yes, yes, very, very dear friend of mine, and we love Malcolm. I love Malcolm, so, and again, another local Chicago boy. So it's
Oh yeah, yeah, it's always nice to have.
yeah. So, and we have some really cool folks here. We got extra voices. Just to name a few, they're all down there, and
Mhm.
we're very, very, very proud of the voice cast. I think it's just like the people who have been able to bring these characters to life.
Mhm.
Um, it just blows my mind.
Yeah.
And when I hear them talk and I hear them in a recording session, they are the characters. And it's super. It makes me tear up, but it also makes me laugh so hard. Like I get nervous sometimes listening to them perform. I'm like, oh my god, this is actually happening. So,
Yeah.
and then yeah, this is our production crew. My brother is also one of our co-writers and
Nice.
co-directors. That's Elias, and then we got Tino. We already talked about them. We got Aziraphale Lanifier, otherwise known as Happy Coma.
Mhm.
They're one of our cleanup artists and kind of one of our production coordinators. They help us with planning and tracking and all that fun stuff. Tom Ruger, one of our production consultants and writers. Matthew Coe, an amazing animator, has done stuff on Hell of a Boss and Has
Mhm.
Been Hotel. He is one of our lead animators, along with Andrew Mortimer. These two young gals, Laura Von Galen and Imka Von Galen. Laura was an animator, and Imka was one of our background artists. They've had to step down
Hmm.
just because of personal stuff going on in their hometown of the Netherlands. But
Mm.
they're still amazing Chucky Chicken fans. We love them, and when the time comes and they're ready to come back, we will welcome them with open arms. Caro Veuto uh, from Brazil. She is one of our lead background artists. Miranda Guzman is our casting director and one of our writers. We got Mark Lavallo
Mhm.
helping us with music, along with Naomi Dupron. The two of them are like wizards with music. It just the music that you're going to hear in the show, so amazing, so fun. Cannot wait for you to hear it. We have artist and animator Jenny Butler helping us with some animation, which is awesome.
Nice.
We have Vivian Reyes, aka Sleepy Corey, helping out with animation and with cleanup. Dana Aguilar is another one of our production people helping us with tracking and stuff. Rebecca Rodriguez, character designer, as well as she was my co-showrunner, but she had to, you know,
Hmm.
step down for that position. But she's still helping out with this show. Malcolm Thomas is one of our cleanup guys. Isabel Ibby the Ibster. She's one of our storyboard artists and concept artists. And then we have Nick Senny helping out with sound design.
Nice.
So,
Yeah.
um,
Like,
again, the
like a
best.
full-on crew.
Yes, they are the best in the world. I could not be happier with the people that we have. And ironically enough, we're all volunteers. Like
Mm.
none of us are getting paid to do this show. Every single person is a volunteer. And yeah, it's not ideal. But we do have a Kickstarter, not a Kickstarter, excuse me. We have a Patreon and we have a
Hmm.
coffee and we do sell merch. We're trying to find ways to pay these guys to continue to make the show happen.
Hmm.
And they have given me their blood, sweat, tears, and I do my best to give them opportunities to work with some of the best in the world. And I could not do the show without them, to be honest with
Mm.
you.
No, yeah.
um
Animation is a huge collaborative.
it really is.
Insanely, like
it
a skill
Yeah.
set you'll get from working on animation is how to work in a team.
Yes, yes. So I mean, if you can, like, please donate to us on Patreon and coffee. Buy us a coffee, and
Mhm.
everything goes back to them. Like, truly, we're trying to get this so we can make this our full time gig, right?
No,
Once the
that's the dream.
Yeah. So once the pilot is done, the goal is we'll probably do a crowdfunder, but we want to get the pilot done first. So I mean, we may end up doing a Kickstarter to try and get the pilot finished. We don't know yet, but all in the works.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm so proud and blessed to have the crew that I do.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Would you like to tell me a bit about like what the episode format would be about and the series it's in general? Like if this Kickstarter does work.
oh, sure. Well, typically, what we want to do is the goal would be that we would have the story of the show basically be like I talked about with Chucky trying to make a cartoon, Freddy messing everything up, but along the ways, Chucky discovering more about Bruno Bronco and the Stapley and the connection with the studio and trying to help save not just the studio but eventually the town.
Hmm.
But along with that, what we would like to do later on is not only showcase how they made the films, but we want to showcase the films that they actually make, called the Feathered Follies. And those are, you know, pretty much retellings of classic stories like, Little Red Riding Hood
Mhm.
or The Three Little Pigs or Aladdin or, The Gingerbread Man or whatever. Just fairy tales, movie parodies, music videos, stuff like that, or, musical stuff. Um, those are the films that would be produced through Tough Cluck Studios that we as the audience now get to enjoy. And
Mhm.
it'd be kind of fun because it would be credited, director Chucky Chicken,
Just funny
and
double.
exactly. And what's fun is like everyone in the crew has their own Chuck Sonas. So when we do those particular cartoons, instead of them getting the credit, it would be their Chuck Sonas getting the
Nice.
credit. So I mean, and if you know who they are, then you'll know exactly, you know, who made the thing, which is really fun. So we have a lot of fun with it. We're very excited about it. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's wonderful.
thank you.
Oh, episode ideas. That's fun. Would you like to tell me of them?
Nope.
Oh,
Oh, okay. Well, like I said, with the main series itself, um, focusing on like for example, Margarita will have her own story that Chucky has to try and help her out, and Johnny Jackrabbit, being. We deal with a lot of really cool themes and problems that filmmakers have, right?
mhm,
As a filmmaker, I think it's important to and my responsibility to emphasize problems that filmmakers have, um, when doing their craft. Um, there's a study out there that says that 80% of kids today want to be YouTubers, right?
mm,
So I think it's my responsibility to let them know like what they're really in for, like things like collaborations potentially going
of
wrong,
course.
or dealing with things like burnout or stretching yourself too thin,
Mhm,
or you know one very huge aspect is remembering your why. Why did you get into this business? Why did you pick this story? Why do you do the things that you do? Because that plays a lot into where you're going to go forward, right?
mhm,
Um, and with Margarita, we have, for example, some pretty heavy stuff. Like poor Margarita is unfortunately gaslit by Freddie quite often in the show, and we go there. We go
mhm.
there. It's not pretty, but we go there. And poor Chuck has his work cut out for him to try and help Margarita get out of that funk. I'm just going to leave it at that. Poor Johnny, being the son of the original prop man and the original, everyman for the studio, he deals with, things like nepotism, but
Mhm.
also spreading himself too thin and putting the pressure on himself to be just as good, if not better, than his old man, right?
Right.
And Chelsea, with her story, that's where we really get to learn more about the history of Tough Cluck Studios and the Turkey family
Mhm,
and the relationship between them and Bruno Branco and the Stapoli of Napoli, how Chelsea lost her arm, and it's really really intriguing. So
mhm.
it's we call it looniness with a heart,
Ah,
like so. We're not afraid to touch those topics, and I think it's really really going to be something folks are going to
mhm.
love. And then on the other side, the stuff in blue, we do like the traditional types of stories for the Feathered Follies. Like
Mhm.
I want to have a Western with Chucky Chicken, we want to have, instead of the Arabian Nights, we call it the,
Arabian.
yeah. So, and Chucky, of course, is the star going through the desert and telling those stories. And I love the knight in shining armor stories. Why wouldn't you want to see Sir Chuck-a-Lot go up against the evil Feather Scorch, the dragon? I mean, it's fun and it's imaginative, and you don't really see it a lot anymore. And they used to do that all the time in the old cartoons. So we want to have like jungle expeditions and going 20,000 leagues under the sea, or, film noir, or, romance comedy, like all these fun stories. We want to bring those back and bring them in a really fun, creative, nostalgic way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of versatility with not only just like storytelling, but also just like what you can do design wise and with some like the environments and stuff like that.
oh yeah, exactly. And that's what I love about these characters. Like you can, and what's cool is when they're in the Feathered Follies, they're not stuck in their traditional
The
roles that
role.
they are in the studio. Like you can have Tommy Turkey as the bad guy, or you could have, Louis Loon as the hero, which heck, even Freddie Fox and his weasels could be the focus of a story. There's so much that you can do. You can mix and match and have some. The sky is truly the limit. We're very excited to see where you know, what characters stand up in the casting calls and who plays what and what they do and see how many awards that these guys can win for their studio. A lot of fun.
Nice, nice. Oh, we got some behind the scenes for the designs of the characters. That's very cool. I love the the line work in them.
Yeah.
Yeah, some classic work. Yeah. So, is there anything more you want to say about that? Like, was there a specific character design wise that was also an inspiration for Chucky, or
Uh
because
well
you don't see many chickens in this kind
you
of?
you don't. No, that's the thing, right? Like Foghorn Leghorn was kind of an inspiration, as well as characters like Woody Woodpecker. I think just
Mhm.
for like the anatomy of the character, but personality wise, he's very much. I hate to say the Mickey Mouse type because you know if you think of like traditional Mickey Mouse outside of the more modern day cartoons, he's very flat and very
Yeah,
boring, and
yeah.
that's not Chucky at all.
Mhm.
Um, but uh, Chucky just kind of, I don't know. He just, definitely, like I said, the 30s inspiration was there with like those kind of chickens and
Mm,
like bringing. How do you make a chicken the main star of your
yeah.
thing without it being on a barnyard? That's kind of what
Mhm.
we wanted to do, and I think we've done it well.
I think the closest I can say to something like that was actually uh, Disney's Robin Hood movie in the
Yeah,
'60s. I want to say
mhm.
the narrator was also a
That's
rooster.
right. That's right. The troubadour was a
Mhm.
rooster, played amazingly by Glenn Campbell, by
Oh
the way.
yeah, very yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool, like laid back kind of character. That
Absolutely. You hear that voice?
yeah,
Let me tell you a little bit about
ooh
Robin
the
Hood.
lolly.
Ooh, the lolly. Another, obviously, our fine feathered friends from animation ancestry,
Mhm.
like Donald and Daffy Duck, also were
Mhm.
huge, influences on how to do like avian anatomy, and anthro avian and anatomy. But yeah, again, we looked at the older stuff and we wanted to try our best to find something that fit nicely on that shelf. And the folks that we have helping us make that definitely are, um, they definitely did, you know, just that.
Nice. Ooh, ooh, the backgrounds.
Just a few.
Just I can see the dark. Is the dark forest in this? Is this meant to be like reminiscent of like the Snow White scene?
Yep. That and a nod to the pink elephants from Dumbo. If you
Oh
look really,
yeah,
really closely. So
I could definitely see that with some of the
yeah.
eyes, and mainly the
Oh,
middle one.
oh my gosh, horrified me as a kid.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the bottom left one, the curtain, was used recently in Chucky Chicken's classic cartoon matinee.
Hmm.
We did this really cool program where we have Chucky presenting a plethora of classic, public domain cartoons.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
very cool.
the interstitials are available on YouTube. But we were supposed to do the show at the Arcada Theater in St. Charles, but we haven't found the date that we had to be postponed, and we haven't had a chance to reschedule it yet. Hopefully, we will. We'll see. I have faith.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows? Maybe the classic cartoon matinee will be coming to a theater near you. Maybe. No
Maybe.
promises, but
Oh god, yeah, that's the deal of Indian animation. It's a lot.
definitely on YouTube though. So
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's
go to
honestly
your
my
theater,
favorite.
put
Yeah.
up your, connect your laptop. There you go. That's all you got to do. That just talks about how the show's done.
Hmm. Oh,
So,
Toon Boom Harmony, Audacity, and oh, that sounds like yeah, sounds very solid. Like those
yep.
are very solid tools that I found very useful.
Oh yeah. So, and a lot of it, like we do it the old-fashioned way. So, I've coined a term called tradigital,
Hmm.
um, where we use traditional methods with digital tools. And
Okay.
so we do it the old-fashioned way, frame by frame, on twos and ones and twos. We've learned the principles of animation from the nine old men. We studied the animator survival kit, and we also used techniques from Disney and from Warner's, and
Mhm.
um, but we have the digital playground, and a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
stuff. We still do stuff on paper as well every now and
Mhm.
then. Not as much as I'd like to, but um, just doing it this way really. In the old days, I used to do everything on paper.
Mhm.
Uh, some of the first four Chucky Chicken cartoons were all animated on paper.
Mhm.
So, and then scanned in the computer and colored using Photoshop. I didn't
Yeah.
even have Premiere at the time. I had or I didn't have Toon Boom at the time. I had Photoshop. So I don't recommend that unless you really want to feel what it was like to be one of those animators back in the day.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I feel like a lot of kind of animation people, whether fans or sometimes creators, could sometimes get a bit too wrapped up in both like not kind of looking at like kind of the stuff of the past, but also like almost being overly nostalgic
yeah,
of like wanting to like replicate like animation styles. It's like they did it back then because technology was what much more limited.
right.
Because now we have like effects and tools that we can pull off like different animation and like effects that you could never pull off like 20 or 40 years
Right.
ago. Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I've seen people like use cell animation and replicate the process. Major kudos to them.
Yeah.
Like they're
Yeah.
keeping it alive. God bless them.
Mhm.
Um, you couldn't pay me enough to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Even like, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's even been styles of trying to like replicating that style, but with more of a updated tools, like the Cuphead show, which is a
Yeah.
marvel to look at,
Well,
especially the devil scenes.
the game was very much
Yeah,
the tradition, the traditional method where they did all the
mhm.
animation on paper.
By one woman.
Well, a couple of
Well,
people.
for the
Um,
boss fights. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. And then they took those drawings and, digitally inked and
Mhm,
painted them
mhm.
um, in Photoshop. The cartoon was different. That was,
Yeah.
believe it or not, that was rigged animation.
Mhm. Mm.
Um, yeah, I'm sure there were a few scenes that they did,
Mhm.
traditional animation,
Yeah.
but the majority of it was rigged, unfortunately, and
Yeah.
it shows.
Yeah, I think yeah. To be fair, the if you're if anyone's interested in listening to it, look up just the making of the Cuphead game itself.
Hmm.
Like so much time and effort. I think the guy who made it like actually sold his house and car
Yeah, the
just to
Moldenhauer
finish it up.
brothers. Yeah, they did. They took out a second mortgage on their houses.
Yeah, which
Um, yeah, but I mean, but look at the payoff, man.
oh
Like
yeah, no,
it.
yeah, incredible. But
Yeah,
just goes to show it's a lot of work.
and I'll tell you this. I made Chucky Chicken in 2008, right?
Hmm.
And the first Cuphead trailer I think came out in 2012 or 2013.
Hmm.
I was heartbroken when I first saw Cuphead because I was like, they are doing what I want to do, and they beat me to it.
No.
And I thought, okay, you know what? No worries. I'll just go and I'll do black and white. And then Bendy and the Ink Machine
Oh
came out,
yeah.
and I was like, no. And I was heartbroken again, and I almost gave up. But it was my very dear friend Aaron Barogan who uh, basically talked me off the ledge and said, dude, they're video games. You're making a
Hmm.
show. Don't worry about it. Just put your heart and soul into what you're doing. And I promise you, people will watch. I mean, they're not going to do a cartoon show. Then they announced the Cuphead show, and I'm like, well, damn. All right,
Yeah.
never mind. But no,
Yeah.
um, but completely different style, completely different type of
Oh,
show.
yeah. Yeah, I
So
think it's also like most people know Cuphead of the game. Not to dismiss this show by any degree. It's just the Cuphead game is so big and so
yeah.
huge. It's its own beast.
Oh, and like God bless them for doing
Oh,
that.
of
Like
course.
they brought more attention to classic rubber hose animation,
Mhm.
and they did it a service. And if it weren't for them, there wouldn't be this amazing resurgence of what we have. I mean,
Mhm.
thank God for the Moldenhauers.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Oh, looks like. Oh, sorry. Inspirations.
yep.
Nice, nice.
There you go. I think we covered all those.
Yeah. Entourage is actually kind of a shocker, though.
Well, Entourage is, that's like an in-depth look at how Hollywood movies are made. My brother and I love the show, and I'm a big fan of it. I mean, obviously, it is very much a bro show, and it
Mhm.
is very explicit. But
Yeah.
we take our cues from it, and I just think it's a very fun look at how movie stars live and how films are
Mhm.
made. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
very, very, very light cues from that show. So, trust me. I
Yeah.
mean, you won't be hearing anybody, talking like Ari Gold.
Like Tuttle. Yeah.
So,
And we got some previews of the feathered foilies up here.
actually, no, those are the cartoons that are out on YouTube right now that you can
Oh,
watch.
already. Oh,
Yeah,
so yeah. I mean, if you're listening to this, people at home, that's
yeah,
something for you to check out as well.
yeah. We're celebrating Chucky's 15th anniversary this year on
Oh,
July 25th. So,
excellent.
it's a big deal.
And you can tell people where to find you at because you have
Yeah,
several links up here.
we do.
I'm
Oh,
gonna
get rid
I'm
of
gonna
that
share
page because
some.
that'll dox me.
Oh,
So you might want to. There you go.
s- sorry, but
Oh,
I'll edit that out later.
I appreciate that. Thank you. But yeah, so there's our YouTube channel. Um. Yeah.
All right.
Huzzah!
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry about that, but you could also find them on
You're all
Twitter.
good, man. It's okay. I
Yeah,
hand it
yeah.
out to people, so it's all good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can also find them on Twitter,
Yep.
and they have a uh, they also have a Instagram link right here that which you guys can check out. Some very cool stuff on here, some designs. And just to go back to your YouTube channel, just really quick, I just want to ask you a question. Is there
Sure.
like if you could recommend people one of your shorts to watch, which one would it be? Like to get
Um.
people hooked on the series?
Definitely the trailer for the show.
Mhm. Oh
Um.
yeah, I've
The
seen that one
official
a bunch of
trailer.
times.
Yeah. That's obviously a big one that'll get
Mhm.
people excited. Check out the classic cartoon matinee interstitials,
Mhm.
because that's kind of what the cartoon's going to look and sound like. Um, and I would just go back and watch. Oh, I love. Gosh, I'm trying to think of some of my favorite ones. I love Fire Hosed, Snow Plowed. Um, Grim Grinning Giblets is another
Mhm.
really fun one. Carolers a Clucking is another one of my favorites. That's our
Yeah,
holiday special.
some great names.
Thank you. Abra Cluck Dabra is another really fun one.
Uh-huh.
So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, thank you for joining us. I just want to ask you one more question before you head out. Are there any indie animated shows that aren't yours that you're a big fan of or that you're looking forward to?
Oh my goodness. You got an hour? Uh,
Just give me a big one that you're a fan of.
okay. Well, I'll give you a couple if that's
Oh
okay.
yeah, yeah,
I
sure, go
love.
for it.
Monkey Wrench is one
Of
that I'm
yeah.
very excited about.
Mhm.
I also am a huge fan of Lackadaisy. I've been following them for a long time, and
Oh yeah.
obviously with Malcolm in the show, I have to show my props for them.
Hmm.
I gotta give a shout out to my friend Meg Boudreau and her show Mid Mortis, which
Hmm.
is this really awesome, adult ghost adventure, which I think is going to be really cool when it comes out.
And if you're
Uh,
curious about Mid Mortis, we have a whole interview with her, the
yes,
creator Meg. If
yes, 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 yes. Um, oh my gosh, there's just so many really good ones. Chester and Celine that just came out looked
Mhm.
really, really good. Um, Ollie and Scoops by my buddy Nico Calaleo.
Mhm.
Um, oh my gosh, there's just so many, um, too many fun ones to mention. I mean, obviously, uh, the Amazing Digital Circus and Murder
Oh yeah,
Drones. Those are
huge.
big, huge ones. I loved Port by the Sea. That was a very cute
Hmm.
little short too. There's so many. I'm so proud of the indie animation scene, and I guess, you know, like, thank you for inviting me to be a part of this.
Oh, absolutely no
You
problem.
know,
It's always a pleasure to talk to other indie anime people,
yeah,
and to the people watching. This was also made by Man of 1,000 Thoughts, a little AMV trailer he made of a bunch of indie anime shows just for
yeah,
fun.
which we're not in,
No,
which I'm kind of sad about.
next
One
time,
day,
baby. Yeah.
one day we'll get there. One day.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, but yeah, thank you so much for coming on. As
yeah, thank
always,
you.
yeah, as always, I am Greyworks. You can find me, of course, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Twitch, at Greyworks, and I was joined by the creator of Chucky Chicken, by Michael Cook.
Hello.
And I hope to see more from you people in the future. Okay,
Uh,
bye.
so long.